Things here, because we need to understand if the income, regardless if it's for individuals or a group or countries, if that income was based on something which is halal in Islam, meaning that is kind of something that's permissible to be dealt with in Islam, then all of whatever comes out of it as a profit, that is halal. For example, like when the mining for petrol, things like this, and all of salam, okay, mining for petrol and all of these things, these are things that's halal to be dealt with.
Mining.
Yeah, for example, I'm not talking
What
about crypto.
happens if that company has a loan, for example?
Yeah.
So what happens to the Western country, Australian company, it's mining, typical.
Okay.
What happens if that company has loans and has interest to pay? And effectively, as you're investing, you are part of the company. You are a shareholder, so therefore you have partner ownership. Sometimes sovereign wealth funds can be very large stakes,
Okay.
very high percentage.
Let's
So,
use
yeah. Is that allowed?
let's use a smaller example, and then whatever implemented for a smaller example, it's implemented for something bigger.
Okay.
Let's say we three. Yeah?
Yep.
I have a company, for example, or let's say I have funds. You have a company, yeah. Your company is doing something which is generally is permissible in Islam. Like, for example, your company, for example, is searching for petrol, minerals, things like this. That's your company.
Yep.
You're already in debt. You deal with interest and all of these things.
Yep.
Okay? When I'm participating in this company, yeah, I have nothing to do with what you have done between you and the other organization. I have my input is for the efforts that you do, for example, towards, for example, searching for minerals or mining or something like that. And whatever the profits is divided between me and you. Your share, you deal with it the way that you think. My shares is this. Now, when it becomes a problem, when I put my funds into your company, and then your company participate in interest and all of these things, then I'm blameworthy. So I have to withdraw my funds. I will say, either we are partners doing certain things, and you do your own things with your finance, and I'm doing my own things with my finance. And if I'm being in this partnership that I have to be under your, for example, the system as a shareholder, and you deal with it the way that you think, you may give loans for people, and these loans you'll take interest, and you think I'm going to participate in this, then in that case it's not permissible for me to participate in this.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Yeah. So, using your example, that means every single sovereign wealth fund in the Middle East is sinning.
For me, it doesn't matter, everyone or some of them.
Well, it would be. I mean, I don't have the figure, but I would say if you're a public limited company,
Yeah.
registered, 99% of them in the world have loans.
Okay, that's
Now,
their problem.
I don't know. It could be 90%, could be 99%. It doesn't matter.
That's a problem with them.
So therefore, you're telling me if you can't invest into a company that's going to take your money and then use that money to pay off and deal with loans.
Yeah. Think
Think
about it.
About $3 trillion, maybe 4. I can't remember.
Let me give you that.
90% of the investments dealing with companies that deal with interest.
No, you need to understand, deal with the
That's
interest.
where I'm curious about.
Again, let's be going back to the smaller examples.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you deal with interest, again, that's vague statement because we don't know what's the meaning of dealing with interest.
Okay.
If you are borrowing money from an organization or something, and you are dealing with interest, even though if you are borrowing the money, that's something. And the other way as well, lending the money for people and getting back interest, that's another thing as well. The point is, both of them are considered to be deal with interest, but here, is you're dealing with that interest, is it a necessity or not necessity? That's something, and that's a different discussion. For example, if I am in a situation that either I borrow money with interest, or I'm going to be evicted from my home, myself and my children will be on the street, then in that case, Islam permitted to me, in order for me to protect myself and to protect my children at a certain point, and to get it under this necessity situation.
Yeah.
So if there is a necessity, it could be.
So
Now,
it's
so that's
interesting.
the flexibility. No, it's
Depends
more
on
In the circumstance, given the circumstance.
the circumstances under necessity. Necessity
Yeah, yeah.
matters,
Yeah,
matters of life and death, matters of, gonna be the consequences so horrible, so big situation. That's something else. So that's why you will find many of the Middle East countries, for example, they will borrow from international bank. Why? Because of the situation in certain things. So that's why they say either we borrow with interest or people will starve to death. So they have these choices. So we cannot say to them, "Oh, what you're doing is not what you say, totally is not permissible."
So-
We say there are people who are in fatwa and who are giving fatwa, giving the Islamic jurisprudence, who are giving those people case by case and to see if they have a necessity situation or if it can be sorted in a different way. You see the
Okay,
point?
I can understand if the given company was a agricultural based fertilizer logistics company that helps with famines in Africa or
Yeah.
insert country, whatever. But you said mining. Now, how is mining a necessity?
I'm not saying this. Did I say
So,
this?
so therefore, if that Australian mining company.
Again,
It's not like
this
if
Australian
you're-
mining
if you're
company.
If you're a sovereign wealth fund, and if I'm the head of, I'm the head of the sovereign wealth fund in Saudi Arabia, and I've got $1 trillion, right? And
I
lots
could,
of
for
gold.
example, if
Why? There is absolutely you can't say the people of the Emirates, Qatar, Oman. None of these people are starving by any means.
But then Saudi, you
yeah,
think
again,
sorry.
me,
They're
I
not, they're
cannot,
not starving.
I
So
cannot,
I can understand
yeah,
your in your single case scenario where you're in a place, you're in very hard times, or that company is going to go bankrupt. But we're talking about these companies have invested in 10,000 investments. 10,000
that's again.
companies.
You see, I'm not here.
That's what
Oliver,
I'm.
Oliver.
Interest back.
Oliver,
No. If you own a company, right? If you go buy Apple, right? You are a shareholder. You own
okay.
little percent of Apple.
Yeah.
You're an owner by legal definition.
Yes.
And we're talking about sovereign wealth funds who are owners, big owners, right?
All right.
So how can they deal with a company that is nothing to do with life or death? Mining.
We need more examples.
Yeah, examples, yeah.
Oliver, what you are doing here, you are generalizing on the things that we still vague. Again, when we give the Islamic jurisprudence, the Islamic ruling, we have to understand case by case. You have to give me a detailed case, and then I have to answer you a detailed answer according to the case that you gave me. So when you say to me, in the Middle East they deal with this, you deal with companies that deal with
vague,
interest.
it's quite vague.
It's vague. What do you mean by dealing with
Okay,
interest?
my question-
Which interest? You said mining. Again,
You said mining.
I said to you, for example, some of it, getting petrol or getting, for example, the oil or getting minerals and all of these things. There are certain companies we deal with, so they hire. From my understanding, they hire companies to do this. So to hire someone.
No, they don't hire. They don't hire. They invest.
That's- okay.
There's a difference. If I'm the head of Saudi Arabian agriculture and I go hire a company to do my farming, that's a contract.
Yes.
No. They own. There's a separation. There's
Okay.
a separation. If you want to go get a company to deal with your emergency shipping.
Okay.
Because of
What are
humanitarian
these
aid,
companies that goes mining? What is the interest that they're dealing with?
as I said before,
Like what?
90%.
Again, that's vague. What do you mean? What they do exactly? I need.
Okay, so
Like, what do you
is
say?
it the same?
90% they deal with
here's
interest.
Here's a very detailed question.
Yes.
Can a Muslim invest into a company, buy shares, to be clear, become an owner of a company that has loans with interest that they pay, and i.e. your money is contributing a very small amount to that interest? Is that a sin?
Okay.
That's my question.
All right. Now, again, let's give the small example so I'll understand. I have some money. He has a company. Yeah. His company deal with different things. Yeah. Deal with different things. Me being as a shareholder with him, if I am participating in his company and his company still getting loan with no necessity situation and deals with no necessity, without a necessity situation, then in that case I am participating in this.
Yes.
So I should abstain from it.
Okay.
So it has to be clarified with this. So again, when you say dealing with interest, so we need to understand what is, when we say dealing with interest, again, is a vague thing. But if I know, according to the example that you give, that he already borrowing money and getting interest, and me, when I'm member of this organization or this company, that means I'm member of that. So I shouldn't be dealing with it. If the income of the company and the contract of the company generally is halal. Like for example, you mentioned Apple. They buy, they sell phones, they get things, they develop whatever, and all of these things. And me buying shares in Apple with this, that's no problem.
Apple has loads.
Yeah. Again, has when they have, I don't know what are these details. That's something.
Okay, what I'm trying to say is, you told me you can't invest as a Muslim. You cannot invest into a company that you know for a fact that is dealing with interest.
Yeah, that's dealing with interest.
So I go back to my original vague fact of 90 to 99% of companies, including Apple, deal with interest. Deal with loans with interest.
Yeah, but in that case,
and I
we
know
shouldn't.
for a fact the sovereign wealth funds of the Middle East invest into tens of thousands of companies.
Yeah,
So therefore, 99% of those companies will have loans attached to them. So therefore, those sovereign wealth funds, by logic, equals sin.
But then
So-
also they
Am I wrong?
Yeah, we understand.
you're
but
right.
Okay,
there's
so
also-
then sovereign wealth funds, how they are, I'm not saying.
By
I'm
the way,
not
by
saying
the way,
sovereign
by the way,
wealth funds
by the way,
as
by
a
the way,
concept are
by the way,
sin.
I am
saying
not
their
here.
investments are.
By the way, I'm not here to justify if they had done something right or wrong, if I had done something wrong, and I'm not as well opposed if they have done something right, which is I don't know what it is, the details of it, because I don't know. Still, for me,
loans is very vague
because-
as well. Loans are very.
Interest.
again,
I've been told
we have.
Not
Let me
every
finish
loan
off.
has interest though.
Huh?
Not every loan has interest.
99% of Western companies.
No, but especially, I know, Sheikh, I know of a case where business people went to a government in America
Yeah.
to buy a stadium,
Yeah.
and they took a loan.
Yeah.
The loan had no interest though.
No, that's,
Yeah.
that's fair.
So not
I'm
every loan
saying
has
I'm not
interest.
saying-
So that's why
my
again.
mistake for using a loan.
Yeah.
I understand. In majority of cases, loans have interest. Fine.
Yeah.
However, I know for a fact Saudi Arabian sovereign wealth funds
I don't
has
know.
a very large percentage of Apple. Now, Apple, 100%. I've got Bloomberg. I can tell you, it does have loans.
Loans for what?
With interest.
Yeah. You need to know. You need to
Okay,
know.
I don't know. that.
So therefore, you're telling me, basically, I don't know how many sovereign wealth funds there are in the Middle East, but about 5 or 6, if not more. All of them that are practicing that is a sin. Is that not? My question is that not massive dilemma?
All right.
Because I believe in investing. You can probably tell from my conversation.
Yeah.
I work in finance. So is this, I find that quite troubling.
No, let me tell you something.
Is that not troubling for a Muslim?
No.
Can you, for example, buy Apple?
Okay.
Can you go buy Apple?
To buy the whole company.
No. A share. One share.
Again, I will not do it. If I know.
You won't do it. So how
If
come,
I know-
how come the richest people in the Middle East, the most powerful people in the world?
I'm not the spokesman for them, by the way.
I know.
Yeah. You didn't tell me.
Could you say that's a sin though, as a Muslim?
My point again, I'm stand by.
There's one rule for you, but the richest people in the Middle East who have Rolls
Again,
Royces and
try-
have $1 billion house,
Can you-
they've profited from the sin
Oliver,
of the interest
Oliver.
rates. But you, as a humble individual, cannot. Do you not
Oliver.
find that hypocritical?
I didn't say it's allowed. Did I say it's allowed
I'm
for
not saying
them?
it's allowed. Do you not find it hypocritical?
What? Hypocritical? Did I say they're doing right?
The richest
But
people in the
we
Middle
don't, honestly, you have
Oliver,
to give
Oliver,
him a name. You have to
Oliver.
give him a name. You have to give him a case. We don't know what
Oliver,
Yeah.
Oliver. Again, I'm stand by what I'm saying. I said either individual or group or countries, if they invest in something and they have to deal with interest, they are failing into what's called riba, which is haram. For us, it's not allowed in Islam, regardless who's doing it. Either individual me,
It's not allowed whoever does it.
yeah, whomever does it.
okay.
So that's not hypocritical. So I'm saying about myself,
Yeah,
and
I
I'm
know
saying,
you can only
and I'm
control
saying,
your own actions.
and I'm saying about what should be done. Now, what they will take, that is their own thing. At the end of the day, they're going to face God in the hereafter, and they have to justify this to God in the hereafter, or not. That's between them and God. But for me, the Islamic jurisprudence is clear. Allah says in the Quran, in very clear statement, وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الْبَيْعَ. Allah permitted transaction, buying and selling, and Allah prohibits usury. Allah made it clear usury is not permissible in Islam.
Sorry,
How?
it doesn't allow what? Sorry, usually.
Usury, which is interest. Usury.
Sorry, right, okay.
Do you know what means of usury? Usury.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So Allah mentioned this in the Quran. Allah permitted buying and selling and trading, and Allah did not permit usury or dealing with interest. And the interest, basically as simple as that. I take 10 pounds from you and I return it back to him 11 pounds. That is usually this interest that's not permissible in Islam. And Allah says in the Quran as well, to add to this, Allah says in the Quran, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Help one another for something righteous, something good, and don't help one another for evil or sins or transgressions. So Allah told us this in the Quran. So if there is in any sort of form, whether individual or organization, or for example, or countries, they deal with this, they are committing something wrong in Islam. Now, what we should do, I condemn, of course.
But also,
if a Muslim was doing a sin,
I will condemn
a
it.
person down the street, would you condemn it and try and
Rectify it.
rectify and put them on the right path? So therefore, why do Muslims not condemn?
Who told you they don't?
Okay. Well,
Who told you they don't?
I haven't seen any protests.
Okay, no, you don't need to say, by the way,
Well,
condemn. We don't do protest to condemn.
Okay.
We have people, we have scholars of Islam who literally, they will mention
Have
this.
they have the highest
Yes, of
members
course.
of
Yeah,
the faith?
yes, they will, and they have.
They?
Yeah, they have.
Really?
Yeah.
They've condemned the richest people in the
What
Middle
do you
East
mean
who
by,
are funding
again?
their own mosques.
But Sheikh, can I just say something quickly?
Yes.
One thing as well, and because I watch a lot of these videos about buyouts and things like, a lot of the Middle Eastern countries, they have enormous reserves of money from the oil.
Yeah.
And they do buyouts. And when you do a buyout, you can determine the terms of the contract. So when you say that the Saudi thingy has a contract with Apple, do you know the nature of the contract?
Yes.
You do know the nature
It's
of the
public
contract.
knowledge.
No, but what's the nature of the contract? Where does the investment go to?
They buy a share.
Yeah, and where does
That's
the
it.
money, the money
That's
of the
it.
investment go to though?
Them.
Does it go to
depends,
paying?
It depends who.
No, but is it used to pay the loans?
Yes, it can. Yes.
No, but you need, because I know.
An
that-
IPO, yeah.
I know when a government, when a
By
company-
the way, there is another thing. There is another thing. Suppose Apple, they have loan from international bank or whatever.
For development.
Loan.
They use it for development.
Suppose they got loan, yeah? And I came in, I said, I'll pay this loan, total loan, and I will have these shares. Is this permissible in Islam? Yes, according to this. Meaning, what I did, whatever that the loan is remains there, for example, let's say £1 billion or whatever, This loan from a bank or something. Then I covered, I paid the bank the whole amount, the whole lump. I just give it out. With this taking shares from the company, it's allowed to do this. So it's allowed to do this. So if that shares on this way, then it's
They
permissible.
have done many times.
So that. Sorry, if I understood that rightly. company-
Let's say you have a company.
Yeah, I have a company.
You have a company.
Yeah, I
Let's
have
say
a loan.
you have a loan. You went to the bank. Let's suppose you're a company. Suppose you have a building. You are doing construction and you build one building, for example, 5 floors, 6 floors. Yeah. And you had a loan from the bank, for example, 2 million or 3 million pounds, for example.
Yeah.
And the loan is increasing and all of these things. Then you came to me and I have the funds. Then I'll say to you, you know what? I'll pay to the bank in one go, and I will get you, if you have 5 floors, I take 3 floors from you. Is this permissible in Islam? Yes.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I know, that's it's good to know what's allowed and what's not allowed.
Yeah.
To just get my head around it.
So that's why,
but
again.
you've told me you can't have ownership. You can't be an owner of a company that takes part in interest.
Yeah, that's general.
That's
very
generally, again, that's general.
That's in general, but that's
When I'm talking, you say generally. We say generally. Now, if
in general,
that's totally, you see, that's case. totally different than the case. Different than the case. One sec. Different than the case. He has a company. I bought shares with him, and his company go get loans, do things, and I am part of it. Then in that case, no, it's not allowed to do it in this way. So that's totally different than the case. Me to buy the shares by covering your debt. So those are totally different things. So that's why we need to understand what kind of contracts that they have.
Yeah.
What kind of
when you
each
buy
company-
when you buy a company and you buy some shares,
Yeah.
you're not like your example. It's not that doesn't take place on a. It takes place. I'm not doubting it, and it sounds more of a practice in the Middle East or more Muslim country.
yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not. But
Yeah.
and it's interesting to know those cases where it can be allowed, but in 99% of the cases in the sovereign wealth funds.
I can give you 4 examples right now.
I'm not doubting
The
there are
Middle-
examples how to get around it.
No, no,
There's
the Middle
different
East-
ways of doing business. What
Jishan,
my
give me
point
water.
the richest people in the world
I have one. I use the right one.
who are Muslim in the Middle East are, by your own words, sinning.
No, again, we didn't
Again,
clarify it.
you see, listen.
You've said it, but now you're
Listen.
saying
No.
it.
Again,
But like,
I
when
don't
you
know.
own a share-
One second.
when-
No, Oliver.
When you own a share,
Oliver.
you own a company.
Oliver,
And that's-
Google it, I'm gonna Google it now.
listen, and listen. Now here he's a Muslim, yeah?
Yeah.
He's a Muslim. From what I know, for example, suppose he invests in something. He had a business before, yeah? Correct? You remember your business, yeah? So if he came to me, and he told me that he wanted to do 1, 2, 3, 4 in the business, and he wanted me to participate in that business. Now the question is, or he has done a business without me participating. Suppose if I don't know what's the details that he's dealing with. I cannot say
But is it
he
not
is.
your job as a Muslim to
Yeah.
check what he is doing before you invest?
No, Allah didn't tell us to check for everyone. Allah told us firstly to
But then you
rectify
could be very
ourselves.
You could deliberately be careless.
No,
and
no.
invest into companies
I
that
will.
have loads of interest.
For me, is about myself firstly, then my family, as Allah told us in the Quran, then my community, then my country. So start with me now. For me, I need to rectify myself to see I shouldn't deal. My income has to be lawful. Then as well my family to make sure that the family is doing this. Then as well the community to make sure that is these things. Then to advise with a bigger picture. That's the point here. So I cannot say all of them are sinning because of this because I didn't know the details.
Okay, if
I
I tell
can't.
you the details, could you tell me if it's
I
true?
don't know if you're saying the truth. How can I know that you're saying
And
that?
I'm just checking here.
You know.
Can I-
Hey, let's see.
Yeah, let me
No,
say-
I don't know.
Yes.
This
Sheikh,
is
can I ask
for me. This is news. So for me, I cannot.
You're doing a PhD
Yeah.
in Islamic finance.
Not about Apple. Yeah.
Apple has
No,
loans. Saudi
my
Arabia
PhD,
invests in
my PhD is in the insurance. So in the insurance. So that's my area of research. Not necessarily to know everything. The same thing. Someone who did, for example, PhD in cosmology. You don't expect him to know everything in the cosmos. You know certain things.
This is very GCSE.
Sheikh, can I
What?
ask him something?
No. Well, let's see
Sheikh,
what's-
Sheikh, ask him. Another thing as well, so when Apple or any big companies ask for investment, they have to explicitly mention where they're going to use the investment for.
Yes.
That's another thing as well that you didn't mention.
No.
Yeah.
That's a misunderstanding. No, okay, yes. If they
Yeah.
say we need to raise finance, we're going to
do
do a
what?
share. We're going to release some shares, dilute, because they have their own shares in the company. The reason they're not doing it because that might be just investing into a new phone, a new Apple product, because that's what they want to do.
Which could be the case.
However, that's the purpose of what they're going to use the money for. However, you still own a share, right? They can't pick and choose where your money goes. When you own a company, when you own 0.0001% of a company, and then you're going to.
That's public investment. We're not talking about.
Yeah, but I'm talking about sovereign wealth funds,
Yeah,
which
but
are public investments.
No, but public
are
investment.
public.
No, I'm saying public shares. Yani,
Yes.
This is how you go. Public shares, as an individual, you can go to the stock market and buy a share.
Yeah.
Granted, there you don't know where your money goes. However, if a government or a investment fund, they have more power to understand where the money goes to because the CEO.
they
Hold on.
don't
Let me finish. Because the CEO has always to answer to his shareholders.
Yes.
We gave you money. You said you're going to use the money to reinvest. This is what happens with Tesla a lot. We're going to reinvest into a new factory.
For example.
Yeah. So the money goes to the
I
factory.
agree with that. I agree with
So
that.
now
So there is
you
no problem in this.
However, that's oversimplified.
No, I'm
because-
giving you
No,
I'm
that-
giving examples,
I
Yanni.
agree
Those are
with-
examples
Can
which
I-
is you don't accept.
Can I
it.
respond?
Yes.
So yes, I agree with that. However, when you are that's the reason they're going to sell some shares and they're going to raise $100 million, right, to go buy a factory in Germany or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Do you really think 100? But then what do you think that's going to happen down the line? Like
What
they're going to
gonna
use that
happen?
100 million.
It's a contract. You have
No,
to.
it's not. When you have, if I'm a company, if I'm a company,
Yeah.
right? If I'm a company, right, and you go to me, and I'm a private company, and then we have it's basically a contract. That's not a contract. It's not a contract. It's yes, I agree. They need to respect their shareholders and stuff. However, you're talking about 100 million investment, right? But you're forgetting the other stuff in the back door.
Huh?
If Tesla got loans,
Yeah.
right, you're helping them. And that
Again, what do you mean by loans? Listen, Oliver. Oliver, again.
So I agree, they're going to use your investment.
Yeah.
However, you still own. You can't ignore the other stuff they have.
Let me tell you
And
something.
we said that's wrong already.
Again.
Yeah, so
again.
It's more trickier than we
Now,
imagine.
again.
If a company raises money, they say we're going to raise 100 million to go buy a factory.
Okay.
But they've still got interest, or loads with interest. You can't invest.
So-
You're still owning tiny percent of those loans.
Okay.
So you're not, because you're a shareholder, you're an owner of the company. And according to you, it's a sin.
Yeah, for us,
It's
again,
more- yeah.
we need to know, again, you see here, to judge on people if they are sinning or not, it's not for us to judge because we don't know the details.
Yeah.
We will know the details until we study every single case as it is.
Yeah.
So when you say, this, for example, certain organization or certain country are investing in such and such, for example, company, then first of all, I don't know the details of the investments. I don't know the details of the
Why
contract.
do you need to know what the investment? It doesn't.
Yeah.
it doesn't
Yeah, we have to,
it doesn't
because
to-
you are-
Why does it matter
you-
if it's
you are asking-
mining or technology? If that company has loans with interest, it's a sin.
Because you're assuming that the money
is
will be
that a
used-
fact or not? Is that a
Again,
fact or not?
if now
You
here,
don't get to choose when you own a company publicly. You cannot choose
Yeah,
where
but
your money goes.
good.
These are not-
That's
You
why.
can't just go, no. Don't
That's
invest
why.
there.
That's why. When people ask me, what's my opinion on this, I will say to them, no, invest in something which is purely halal. Meaning, you know a company
Only
that
invest in
only
pure
invest
halal.
in halal,
Yeah.
and it has to be not to deal with anything, with any usury.
Yeah.
It doesn't deal with haram. It doesn't sell alcohol. It doesn't deal with all of these things. Then you may invest in these companies. So that's how it is. There are as well, to add to your information, there are some Muslim jurisprudence scholars. Yeah.
Sorry.
Which is jurisprudence, which is fiqh, they call fiqh, like Islamic ruling, giving ruling.
Jurist.
Okay,
Jurist.
Right.
So Islamic jurists, yeah? Some of them, they said, we judge on something on the majority of it. They said we need to know. Yeah, by the way, that's this thing. Even though I don't believe this, but I will tell you that, but just to give the other side. Some of the scholars of Islam, some of the jurists of Islam, they said, if the majority of the company is halal, then generally it's permissible to invest in it. If generally it's halal. Like for example, you mentioned Apple, you mentioned different things. So some of them are mentioning this. Even though I, as a person,
You don't believe that.
I don't believe this.
Okay.
Yeah, as me as a person.
Yeah.
And their background on this, they said, we live in nowadays, there is no way that could skip, being involved in interest, whether you like it or not. Even have a phone contract will be opening your bank account. Just to open your bank account, putting money in your bank, just this, as simple as it is, you are already helping the bank. Yeah, you are already participating in interest.
Do you not have a bank account?
No, I have.
You have.
Yeah, I have.
Do you have interest?
No, but it's a necessity.
That's
though.
that. You see here, because here that's what we call it. This is the necessity. I cannot pay my petrol for my car. I cannot have my gas bill. I cannot have my electric bill. I cannot do all of this. I cannot do nothing without.
I'm not
I cannot
trying to
get my
catch
salary.
you out.
Yeah. No. I'm saying to you.
I'm
no, I'm
talking
saying,
about,
I cannot get my salary. I cannot pay my tax. There is nothing. How you can do it?
No,
So
yeah,
we're not.
I
We don't live in a
understand.
jungle now. So the point is, Because of this, here the scholars of Islam, they said, because of this, there is a necessities that you may participate and you deal with the minimum, whatever you can. So when for example, when I opened my bank account, for example, in the past, one of the banks here, they used to have Islamic account. The Islamic account, basically, they call it Islamic, meaning there is nothing goes in, there is nothing goes out. You know, even if you wanted to borrow money, they will not allow you. So basically, that's simple as that. Yeah. And there is no overdraft in that, which the bank doesn't give you overdraft. That's the Islamic, bank account. This one I started. Then later on, they modified. They said we cannot do it anymore. But the point is, so you do with them, you go with the minimum. Whatever that you can do, you do with them, because otherwise there is a necessities that you need to do all of these things. Because of the necessities, it allow you to do these things. For example, the same thing, the car insurance, generally is haram. It's not allowed in Islam. The way that it is, the structure of it, not the Islamic insurance. This one. Again, the necessity, you go with the minimum. You don't go with the best one, you go with the minimum. Because at the end of the day, having a car, it could be a necessity for some people. Because of the necessity situation, then in that case, it could be allowed under certain circumstances. So that's why, because of this, some of the scholars or some of the Islamic jurists, they said, okay, because of certain situation, we deal with any contract according to the majority of it. For example, to say, can I invest in Sainsbury's, for example, or one of these big supermarkets? Can I invest in it? So generally, it's a grocery shop, yeah?
It's not alcohol.
But they sell alcohol.
Yeah. But they don't.
But they sell alcohol. They sell other things. For me, as a person, I will say no, because there is a percentage that will go to buy and sell alcohol.
As a person, but what about the average? What about the consensus? That's probably,
there is no consensus.
That's probably that's probably.
There is no consensus. That's
I
why.
Said that and I regretted saying it immediately.
Okay.
Is that already? Sorry. Here's one question for you. It's not going to be easy.
So you understand. So you understand. So some scholars allow it under the say if it's not the majority, and I don't believe this. I believe if there is something, even if there is 0.1, then you participate in this. I will say avoid it.
What would you say the percentage of Muslims that are like you, who they sell one drop of alcohol, or they have one loan with interest? How many
our Prophet told us 1400 years ago. He said Islam started as a strange thing in the community. Those Muslims at that time, they don't drink, they don't eat pig, they don't drink alcohol, they have these certain things. So it was strange to the community, and it will return back as strange in the community. So people are going to be taking, look at this, men with beard, women with hijab, things like this. They practice Islam, they try to avoid alcohol, they don't participate in all of these things. So for the majority of the people, that's strange, how those people they survive. So our Prophet told us these things, it will happen again. So it starts strange thing, and then it developed to become like when Islamic civilization became big and things were settled properly, and then it came back to be people who are practicing Islam are strange in the community. Then our Prophet, he said, فَطُوبَى لِلْغُرَبَى, meaning God promised paradise for those who are strangers like this. Yeah. So that's what we are. At the end of the day, I'm not here to judge others. I'm here to say what's the truth. And we advise the people here, if they are watching us, we advise them. Allah says in the Quran, وَذَرُوا مَا بَقِيَ مِنَ الرِّبَى, leave everything that's only of the remainance, and of the traces of usury, and of the traces of interest. Because the small things with halal, in the right way, there is more blessing and more better than to deal with all of these things. Is that clear, all over?
Didn't quite answer my question, but
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So anyway, but because we need to wrap up, but if you could ask your question.
Sorry?
Ask your question.
I just wanted to know what the percentage of, I know that's probably a very hard number to do, but what would you say the consensus in the, thank you.
Yeah.
What's the percentage of Muslims that follow your belief of?
Definitely not the majority, trust me.
Not the majority?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways.
Okay, thank you.
Anyway, no problem.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
I didn't catch you.
Dawood. All right, nice talking to you, Oliver. All right, look after yourself. It was an interesting discussion. I liked it.
Good. Yeah, I learned so much.
Yeah.
I learned so much.
No, I've learned so well.
This always happens when it's video. It's always like so in a good way.
Hey, Mohammed. He's praying in a public place. In speaker's corner, you're not allowed to do that. In speaker's corner, you're not allowed to do these things. I'm saying this. Let me ask you a simple question. Surah 6. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Stay away. Stay away. Please don't touch me. Stay away. Please do not touch me. Stay away. Simple. Stay away. Don't touch me. Stay away. Thank you. Stay away. Thank you. Please come. Thank you. Please stay away. Please stay away. I have headphones, but they keep laughing. I think 90% of my weather. I know these.
Oh, he's doing that to fire you up, innit?
You're not here. You see them man one there. See that? See that? It's because they saw them man and they're doing that.
By the way,
We are sure to read.
that one.
Dawah Center International. All of your Dawah gangs. Your Dawah gangs giving out free rubbish at the Royal Court. Please complain. Free rubbish at the Royal
Your mother is free rubbish.
Please complain. Surah 6.
Dawah! Dawood! Dawood!
Is there any response, sir? Any response?
I saw a vision.
What happened? There are